We're back here in Oxnard for training camp, and Calvin Watkins, my favorite from Dallas Morning News, joining us to kind of recap this week, which has kind of been a slowish week, if you will. They had some days off, but they did have a joint practice, and you spent some time on both sides of the field. Let's start a little bit with the defensive side, because that's where everybody ran to as soon as the clock ran out, which is fair. There's a lot of question marks, and want to see what this Christian Parker defense is starting to look like out there. But let's just start with the first team and what you saw from them, because it seemed like they were getting a lot of splash plays, if you will, pretty fast out there.
Yeah, they were. Anything's better than last year, right?
That's fair.
I mean, goodness gracious. But we did see some good things. Savon Revel had a pass breakup, and you want to see a young player like that emerge, because last year, as you know, he was recovering from a torn ACL. I like the pass rush. They were really getting after Matthew Stafford and Stetson Bennett. Those two guys carved them up the last couple of years. We've had training camp practices here at Oxnard, but down in Woodland Hills, the Cowboys defense was a lot better. It was interesting that Brian Schottenheimer said the day after that, well, 2 days after the scrimmage, he said that the secondary was a little airy, meaning there was too many guys wide open to his liking. That's something that I'm sure they'll tighten up going into the preseason opener in Seattle. But all in all, I thought the defense was pretty good.
You brought up Revel, so I kind of want to touch on him, because I've been hearing some really good things about him in camp. Like you said, he's been dealing with the injury last season and working back. But I thought it was interesting, if you look at the unofficial depth chart, him and Kobe Durant there are pretty much the oars. One of the oars.
One of the oars.
One of the oars, yeah. So to me, that tells me that there's some real competition brewing there. How do you see that long term with this team? You think it's more of having to, because you know Kobe Durant has the experience, do you think it's them trying to more ramp up Revel there, or do you think that Kobe Durant is making a play for that position?
I would say when we first got here, Kobe Durant was the starting cornerback with Deron Bland. But over the last 4 practices, and we've had 10 so far, Savon Revel has really responded. He's working good with the ones and the twos, so that's a positive thing for him. It's going to be interesting how they play this, because Caleb Downs is a safety that they also put in the nickel and slot corner. So, and you would have thought that maybe Kobe Durant can probably do that, but they got him playing outside. But Revel Durant's a very good competition. I never thought that Deron Bland was in a competition for his starting job. It was mainly Revel and Kobe Durant. Durant, as you know, is a 1-year deal. They just got him in free agency. So it's a good competition. I wonder how much Durant's going to play in the preseason because he's a veteran. I think Revel has to play in the preseason because he didn't play at all last year, recovering from the torn ACL.
And I'm glad you brought up the preseason, because I'm interested if it surprised you. I mean, you covered this team for a while, that he said his 2 first-round picks will, they're going to get some reps out there in this preseason game.
I was a little surprised by that, because when we first got here, he said that, Caleb Downs might not play in the preseason because, he does so much, he's so smart, this is great, he's going to the Hall of Fame, and all of a sudden now you got to play him against Seattle. And then Malachi Lawrence, on the other hand, is edge rusher. He needs to play because the Cowboys have talked about he came from a small school, UCF. I didn't think UCF was a small school, but hey, that's another story for another day. But it's a small school compared to Alabama and Michigan and Texas and those schools. Right. So he needs to play. And I had a little chat with Malachi Lawrence after the 10th practice, and he is very excited about participating in the game. I think both of those young kids will get a handful of snaps, maybe to play a series or 2, but that's all you really need, because as Jerry Jones said, the soft tissue injuries, you don't want that, and we don't want to lose anybody, especially in a preseason game.
Yeah, I can't imagine being the coach that allowed, the star player who's going out there expected to be a starter and something happens for that. But it surprised me a little bit, but like you said, the reps, getting the reps and getting that game-like speed.
If you don't want them to get hurt, get another line of work.
That's fair too.
This is football.
It's football.
This is the hurting business.
It's the hurting business. I like that. Let's talk about one of the other oars that popped up on the unofficial depth chart, Sam Williams, and I'm bringing him up because Malachi Lawrence was on that too. I've also heard, again, this is my first week out here, I've also heard some really good things about Sam Williams. What have you seen from him, and what do you see there in that competition?
I like what Sam's doing. He switched positions. He was a defensive end. Now he's in a 2-point stance where he's standing up playing outside linebacker. That was something he did in college. He's real comfortable in that. He's always been this bull in a china shop. Every once in a while, he's going to give somebody a cheap shot. He did that last year, and then he hit the tight end on the sidelines when he wasn't supposed to. So every once in a while he does things. He's like your cousin that you can't control when you bring him to the cookout, right? So that's Sam Williams. But he's been a little more controlled in this camp. He's had a really good camp. He signed a 1-year deal, because he was a free agent, and nobody, not to say nobody wanted him, but I'm sure guys would like to have their security secured with a 3-year deal of some sort. But he got a 1-year deal, so I'm sure he's looking at his future and said, hey, let me handle my business here. Maybe I can get a multi-year deal down the line.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about defense. I kind of want to switch to the offense. Had a little bit of a slow start. That was a huge storyline coming from the joint practice. They were really getting stuffed in the run game specifically. I know they were asked today again about Jaden Blue having that drop. What did you see when you made your way to the offensive side of the field?
They were having some problems, real problems. And Myles Garrett wasn't on the field. He was standing on the side with a cut off, all his muscles showing, Woo.
He had himself a rest day.
He had a big, and then we finally had a swollen knee. But the offense struggled at the beginning of that practice, but toward the back end of the practice, things picked up. Someone upset C.D. Lamb. Something was going on.
A little fire was lit.
And then he got going really good. Toward the end of the practice, I said there were about 3 consecutive touchdowns. Dak to Lamb hit twice, and then Kevontae Turpin had one. Pickens had a touchdown. He kicked the pylons. So, when he's kicking pylons, things are going good. Throwing footballs in the backyard of people's houses like he did out here, that's a positive thing. So the offense did pick up toward the end. I thought they ran the ball pretty good. Jaden Blue had the fumble. I had a long talk with somebody about his hands. He has small hands, so that's a problem. You can't carry a football.
I didn't think about that.
But the running game was pretty good, other than the fumble. Javonte Williams is fantastic. He's well-deserving the contract extension that he got. Phil Maffa, I think, has played really well all throughout camp. So that's a good competition battle, Blue and Maffa. I like to see how those guys work it out in the preseason.
What do you think coaches have to see? Because it seems, at least from the outside, it seems like, not that it's Jaden Blue's spot, but that is the guy, you drafted him as a Texas kid who comes to speed and has all the traits that you want. What do you think Phil Maffa has to show to take that spot?
I wouldn't say that it's really Blue's spot for right now. That fumble, he had a fumble here in practices here with his own guys, and now he's fumbling against the Rams. So you better not fumble against Seattle. You never know. But I will say Maffa has he's been very consistent throughout camp. The Cowboys really like him. They also like Malik Davis, too, who's a personal protector.
Can't forget about
special
Malik
teams,
Davis.
right. I think the Cowboys might have 4 or 5 running backs on this team because they always remind me, don't forget about Hunter Lupke, the fullback. I'm like, oh, my goodness. So he's not going anywhere neither. So Maffa, I think, has been the most consistent of the running backs behind Javonte Williams.
What about the position people often forget about, the backup QB? You don't ever want to see him hit the field because that means QB1 went down, but it's an important position. It's something that this franchise has had to rely on in years past. What are you seeing from Joe Milton and Sam Howell out there? Is it as close as it looks?
Yeah, it's pretty close. I would say Milton's got the edge right now, and they're rotating between the second and third team, and that's fair for both of those guys. What we see on Saturday night against Seattle will tell us a little bit more about those two guys. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it really is. But I would say Milton has been the more consistent of the two quarterbacks that I've seen in camp.
And then lastly, I feel like there's always camp favorites that kind of start to emerge. Who has been, would you say, a camp favorite offensively? I know there's, last year there was like a long list of wide receivers that were showing up.
Everybody loves these wide receivers. They don't make the team. None of them make the team.
It's like then they just they disappear sometimes. But who would you kind of consider a camp favorite right now?
For me, it's going to be your boy, Phil Maffa.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like what Maffa's done. I think he's been very consistent, showing a lot of speed. He might have lost some weight. He hasn't fumbled. He's catching the ball out of the backfield. He's okay in pass protection. He's a quality backup player. Now he's going to have to play a little special teams now to make this 53, which I think he can. But I've been really surprised at Phil Maffa. I really like him, what he's been doing so far.
What about on the other side of the ball? If you had to pick someone on defense, that kind of would be a camp favorite emerging.
I would say James Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, he had 5.5 sacks last year. Now, Jadeveon Clowney led the team in sacks. He's gone. He's down in Houston. So that means it's James Houston.
That's James Houston.
It's James Houston, right. And, he's rushing the passer really well, knocking balls down the line of scrimmage. He almost had an interception in the 10th practice at training camp. He's been very good. And the Cowboys also switched his position because he was a defensive end. Now he's going outside linebacker. So I've really been impressed with James Houston. If I could ask Siobhan Revel's been also really good too this camp.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Revel can do. And like you said, he had some good moments there at the joint practice. But only time will tell. And the Cowboys, of course, have their first preseason game on Saturday in Seattle, happening on CBS News Texas. That's going to do it for now. For Briana Aldridge, for Calvin Watkins.